Hey everybody, it's Biggs here. I got Derek Fucks with me, Derek Fuchs, at FF underscore Derek FUCHS on Twitter. All right, and we are here because we are both fans and alum of a couple of FCS schools, and they are going head to head this weekend, Saturday, November 16th in Davis, California, at Aggie Field. It's number 4 UC Davis hosting the number 2 Montana State Bobcats, and essentially the winner wins the Big Sky Conference and
Yep.
gets an at-large bid to the FCS playoffs. Ostensibly, if you finish in the top 4, which whoever wins this game will, you'll get a first-round bye probably. The only blemish on the Aggies record right now is losing to Cal in the first game of the season, and that's pretty standard for an FCS team to lose to Division I, especially a major division school like an ACC school or whatever. Although they have beaten Stanford in the past, but we can get to that. I have a little video here. And
Right
it's
on.
a little bit out of date, but let's watch it anyway. All right, it starts now, actually, not soon, but I did need to play something. All right, so I did not graduate from UC Davis. I graduated from Arkansas Tech University, but I did take classes before I went out to Arkansas to finish my college career. But you went to and graduated from Montana State.
That is correct. Yep. I went graduated in 2010 with a constructional engineering degree, and then watched our program through the 5 years that I was there, and they had some great games, but we never really sniffed much of a deep playoff run. And then I graduated, and then the program has taken off in the past several years, and mostly like recently, past like 3 or 4 years, we've made some pretty deep runs in the playoffs. So it's been awesome to see. I'm hoping we can take it down this year, but we got to get through. Well, we got to get through UC Davis first to hold on to our top seed. Like you said, it's great to see UC Davis excel so far this year, and the first time for the Montana State to get to be 10-0. You said the first week we played New Mexico, and we were able to pull off one of the biggest upsets from FCS to FBS in recent years. So that was great. I thought that was a great way to kick off the season, and we just haven't slowed down since.
Yeah, and 10-0, we'll get to like the records and everything. So real quickly for the viewers, he is at FF underscore Derek Fuchs, FUCHS on Twitter. I am at Big Boned FFB on Twitter. Go ahead and follow us. Follow the Undroppables on YouTube if you haven't already. Also, I'm doing a cross promotion. This is
Nice.
Player Profiler's Fast Draft. It's a new app for DFS and really quick games. So the concept of it started with you don't want to sit in a draft for an hour and a half. So you draft like only rookies, or you draft skill position players that aren't quarterbacks, and you can make batches. So you make your rankings and then you enter batches. So it'll give you like 20 drafts at a time where you're basically a bot going against 2 live people, and everybody else in there is bots as well. And the picks go 20 seconds with a timer of 20 seconds instead of a minute or 2 minutes or whatever. So it'll draft for you. You don't even have to do it after you set your rankings. Or if you want to be live, you'll be against 10 bots, and all of those are individually ranked. It's not like 10 bots with the sleeper default rankings. It's everybody made their rankings. It's really fun. I'm in the money in a few leagues right now. And just yesterday, we launched our DFS platform. Again, you can do batches of 5 DFS games at a time, and you get randomly assigned into leagues, and 5 at a time. So instead of going in and doing like one DFS thing and then doing another and doing another, you make your rankings and it'll cross weeks. So like Jamar Chase is number 1 against Minnesota, and then Justin Jefferson is like number 4, but for this week, right? So it's fantastic and crazy. It's all brought to you by Player Profiler. Follow Player Profiler on YouTube and on Twitter. Follow Player Profiler News on YouTube and Twitter. You'll find me in a couple of my shows and all that stuff. But let's get down to this. I don't know anything about Montana State except for the fact that we are 0-7 against Montana State. 1-7. We beat them the first time that we ever played them.
Yep.
And then we've lost 7 straight since then. I have a long history with UC Davis. My parents were both employees of the university. I grew up in Davis and started going to games in the very, very early 80s, like 80, 81, 82. I remember hot chocolate games, the 82 championship against North Dakota State to go to the bowl game. Ken O'Brien got hurt, so we lost the Division II championship. He goes on to a nice career with the Jets, gives me one wristband, my buddy his other wristband on his way off the field. There were a bunch of NFL players on that 82 squad. And so I've been following UC Davis football for a long time, 40 plus years. I will get into that after I hear your Montana State football history. I know the program has been around a lot longer than UC Davis, in fact.
Yeah. Very long time. One of the oldest in NCAA history. Started in 1897. It's been around for a long, long time. And that also kind of goes back to our rival, University of Montana, U of M. We're one of the most longest standing rivals in the NCAA history as well. But to our history of the program itself, we've only gotten 3 titles in our name, and our last one was about that year that you were talking about, 1984. So we've had a long drought of bad programs, at least in my recent memory. Growing up, I grew up in Billings, Montana. That's where I currently live right now. Everybody I knew was a Grizz fan, like everybody, just because Montana Grizzlies were always the dominant program in Montana. And that's saying something, because we've had like that rivalry goes deep. Like, people have lost jobs over this rivalry. I know people have go to interviews and they've asked if you're a Grizz or a Bobcat fan, and you answer wrong, you don't get the job. Like wow. That's how serious it goes here. And so, and with the program being so good recently, it's been nice, and it's funny seeing the more and the more Bobcat gear that's being worn around town, because that's not what it was growing up. I promise you, it was just so super funny. Just you were just so used to seeing the maroon everywhere, but I like that it's equal now. But yeah, so the last championship was in 1984 against Louisiana Tech. So it was even before I was born. So I've only known this recent success in my adult life, and it's been great to see. Yeah, I don't know much more history if you need them, but all I know.
No, that's all right. I was a little bit more degenerate with
Oh, you're good.
My efforts, and I made a slideshow.
Let's see it.
So we will take a look at that real quick. All right. So first off, we got the California Aggies, and University of California at Davis started off as the second school in the University of California system. It actually started the University of California system because there was the University of California at Berkeley. They needed a farm for their agriculture program. So about 70 miles north up the road from Berkeley, they got some farmland. They built a station there. They started doing classes and growing stuff. And therefore you have the California Aggies, even though our mascot is a Mustang. All right. So our first season was in 1915, about almost 20 years after Montana State had already started. Right now, Tim Plow, who's a former UC Davis player, is the head coach. We play at UC Davis Health Stadium, or Aggie Field, as people call it. It's about 15 years old, 17 years old. We're in the Big Sky Conference, and formerly we were in the NCAC, and I will get to that in a second, because that was that's when I was really, really heavily involved in the program. The all-time record was 486 and 372 for a 564 winning percentage. And then we have a long history of actually having NFL players come out of UC Davis. And for a long time, Davis was a Division II school that didn't offer scholarships. We didn't start offering scholarships until the late 90s. But some of the NFL players that you might have heard of, Nick Aliotti is a coach in college right now. Scott Berry was an NFL quarterback. Ralph Benershka was a barefooted NFL place kicker for the San Diego Chargers. Bob Bigz is a quarterback and coach in college. He was the head coach at UC Davis for a while. Mike Bellotti, who a lot of people know as the head coach at Oregon, he went to UC Davis. There is a Chris Carter who was an NFL wide receiver that went, but not the Chris Carter from the Vikings that everybody's thinking of. Kevin Daft was a quarterback for the Titans during their run with Steve McNair when they went to the Super Bowl. Keelan Doss is currently an NFL player. He's a wide receiver for the Raiders. He was with the Chargers and the Raiders before that. Bo Eason. Some people might know Tony Eason from the New England Patriots. He was a quarterback in the 80s. Bo Eason is his brother. He came to Davis. He was part of those championship teams in the early 80s and then played safety for the Houston Oilers. Nathaniel Hackett, offensive coordinator from the New York Jets. He is a UC Davis graduate, as is his brother, Paul Hackett. Dan Hawkins is the former coach. He was here last year. Kahari Jones, he was a big quarterback in the CFL, and I want to say the Arena League. Joshua Kelly, running back that was formerly with the Chargers. He came to Davis first before he transferred to UCLA. Chris Mandeville was a defensive back. Rich Martini was a wide receiver for the Raiders. Mike Morosky was the first NFL player to ever come from Davis. He was a quarterback for the Falcons. Ken O'Brien was a quarterback for the Jets. JT O'Sullivan. Everybody go and watch the QB School on YouTube. It's JT O'Sullivan, UC Davis alum, former Saint, former Raider, former 49er, former Madden great. I used to win so many Super Bowls with JT O'Sullivan at quarterback. All right, two more. Colby Wadman is a former Aggie, and he was a punter for the Broncos and the Raiders. I actually worked at the same pizza place with him, Pizza Guys, right around the corner from my house here. And I managed the Napa store where Brock Bowers ate my pizza, and viewers of my channels all have heard of that. And then finally, Mike Wise. He was an NFL defensive end. He was part of that 82 championship team. He was 6'7", 290, led the conference in sacks, had a conference record of like 4 or 6 sacks in a game one time against Cal Poly. Got drafted by the Raiders. He shares a hometown with Mike Morosky, myself, Jared Goff, and that's Novato, California. And Mike Wise, dad knew my grandma. He moved to Davis when he was in the NFL. After he graduated, he bought a house on the golf course. We would go hang out at his house and drink beers when I was like 14 years old. Anyway, so there's a long history of quality players coming out of UC Davis, and there's another one that I'm going to get to towards the end of the show that I want to preview. But that is basically we went on a string of like 31 straight 30 straight conference championships, something like that. Just absolutely unprecedented success. And we have three people in the College Football Hall of Fame. Ken O'Brien, the quarterback, inducted in 1997. Jim Soker was the head coach of that 30 straight conference program. He was inducted in 1999. And Mike Bellotti, like I said, the Oregon coach, he was inducted in 2014. I think the next one is, that's when we get into the players.
Yeah, do you have anybody in the like NFL Hall of Fame?
No. No. Ken O'Brien is the best player that has ever been. He was part of the 83 draft class with like Dan Marino and all those guys. And,
right. No, that's like the only thing that I can touch on. I guess we do have one NFL Hall of Famer from Montana State, Mr.
Nice.
Jan Stenerud.
Jan Stenerud, the kicker.
Yep, he's one of the two that are the only kickers in the Hall of Fame. He played for Montana State. He actually was an exchange student from Norway. He was there for a ski jumping scholarship. Ended up just being a kicker, like trying
And
out.
that was that in the 60s or
Yep,
70s?
64, 65 was when he hit in 65. He even set the NCAA record for the longest field goal, 59 yards at the time.
So back
But
in the 60s, all you had to do was be from Europe
just
enough
another country
to play soccer to become a kicker. And I want to say he was the first soccer style kicker in the NFL. Everybody else used to boot
probably
it
close
toe
to it.
first.
Yep,
And he
probably.
was the first one. He
So
played for the Dolphins, I
Chief,
think.
Chiefs, and then went to play for the Vikings and the Packers.
Okay.
19 years though in the league. He had a long career for being in the States for just the ski jumping
Yeah.
scholarship and turned into being Hall of Fame kicker. So it's pretty funny. But yeah, that's probably our biggest name, the claim to fame from our state. We do have a couple, active players right now. Like Alex Singleton, who unfortunately is hurt for the Broncos, but
I'm in IDP.
Yep. So he's Montana State. We got the Troy Anderson, who was a recent high draft pick a couple years ago for Atlanta Falcons. But I think he's also hurt. And that's pretty much been traditional. If we ever have prospects coming from Montana State, they're either linebackers or O linemen. Like that's it. Like that's all we're producing for the NFL.
Yeah, and our guys are always practice squad guys. But yeah,
these are long shot guys. I mean, the most recent successful one too was Mike Parsons, longtime O lineman for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I have Singleton and Anderson in IDP leagues.
I had no idea that JT O'Brien was UC Davis. I mean, you just shouted him out. I would literally watch his films like every week on his breakdown. Dude's incredible.
He's so good.
So his content is so good. I never pictured him as, everybody's, if you make it in the NFL, you got to have a good NFL brain, like, football in and out, but like he is able to translate it so well on in his content. It's just been great to watch him like kind of get, pretty popular now. It's pretty great.
Yeah. There's actually, I have a thing where I got burned buying Raiders jerseys. And because the players would then leave.
Okay. Mine have always just they started to suck. Like that's
like Khalil Mack, Amari Cooper,
I can see that trend.
So I decided I'm only going to do legacy jerseys from now on. And so then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do former Raiders that also went to UC Davis. And there's like 4 of them. JT O'Sullivan. I already have a Mike Wise jersey. And then JT O'Sullivan, Rich Martini. And there are actually like Raiders games from the 70s with Rich Martini at wide receiver. Him and Cliff Branch were like the two Raiders guys. And then there was another lineman who isn't on the Wikipedia page, but he went. So my next 4 Raiders jerseys are all going to be former UC Davis Aggies that played for the Raiders.
That's actually really cool idea.
Right.
Like I would definitely even support. I mean, I wouldn't get Singleton's like Bronco jersey, but I'd get like he's played for like 5 different teams.
Yeah, and the guy I'm going to talk about later, he's got an NIL jersey that for UC Davis right now that is absolutely sick. All right, so tell me about the 2024 season. We talked about it a little bit, but you guys are 10-0.
Yep.
How is the season like broken down?
So man, it's been it's one of those things where like I used to joke, and I think this year has finally encapsulated it where we've executed it perfectly. Like our offense has been the style of before the forward pass was invented. Like we want to run the ball and play defense, and like that's what we've done every game, executed to a T. We've gotten out, like our first like 2 or 3 drives have all just ended with touchdowns. So we've always had these like, good leads, and then kind of just been able to milk them with the run game. I mean, last week, for example, Sacramento State, we won 49-7. Our quarterback threw for 89 yards, and our team ran for over 500 yards.
Oh,
So it's just like that's the game plan. Like we will run it down. You're like, it could be 4th and long, and I promise you, we're probably calling a draw. Like that's just the way it is. Like a quarterback draw is most likely coming at you. Right? Like it's been incredible. Like from like just a old school style football, and it's been working. But that's, I guess that's the downside, is what do we look like when we get from behind? We just haven't been put in that situation yet, which sounds like we could with UC Davis. I know, I mean, I follow you obviously on social media, and I know which gentleman that is going to be highlighted for the season. But as a whole, it's been awesome to see us, beat up teams, and like Idaho. Like I envisioned Idaho was going to be a tough team. That's kind of like a secondary rival for us, and
Right.
we we went we played them and beat them 38-7. Like, and that's the same Idaho team that took Oregon, like the Oregon Ducks, to
Yeah.
the fourth quarter. Like that I was like, man, if Idaho's going to play like this, they're going to be a tough team this year. And so
I
was
was
nervous
rooting
for that
hard
game.
for Idaho.
Oh yeah, I was too. I was like, I say rivals, but I was like, yeah, beat the Ducks. That'd be so cool to say. Like, that's one of our teams from our division to beat them. That'd been so cool. But yeah, they played them great. But when just seeing us like run up the score on them, I was like, oh, this is not what I was expecting. But it's also a really good feeling that one of the teams that I considered one of the top ones in our group, that we could wallop on them. Like, I feel very good. I'm obviously, we have you next week, and then we have our the brawl game against the Grizz, the final rivalry week.
So you haven't played them yet?
No, the way the schedule is, we always play the Grizz the last week of like November, and it is the, what do we call it? The brawl of oh my god, I'm blanking on the name. The Brawl of the Mountains? No, it's not. I'll find it in a second. Yeah, Brawl of the Wild. Brawl of the Wild. And that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's been like a long-standing game. I forget the split. We were way behind. Yeah, we're still way behind. All-time series. They have a lead 74-42, and then 5 ties. Like I said, like they were dominant for years. Like we are just now, like, we lost to them last year, but like it's been a lot closer games recently.
So we have our rival, Sacramento State. We get them on the 23rd. So pretty similar. That has been a big rivalry as long as I can remember, and it's called the Causeway Classic because there's a causeway bridge that goes over. Basically, it's a runoff, so they divert the river water down through between Davis and Sacramento, and so that there's no flooding in the floodplain, and that all gets washed down into the Delta and the Pacific Ocean. So there's a causeway over it, a bridge that goes over it, and that's what separates Davis from West Sacramento. And then they just planted rice under there. So at times it's like fully covered in water, and then it's rice, and then it's empty, and then it's covered in water, and then it's rice, and then it's empty.
That's so cool. I mean, that's I would not have known that. That's so cool though. And I also, like I love learning about the other, like, another team's.
Yeah, so
that's so cool.
We've always dominated Sacramento State. We've beat the crap out of them, but every once in a while, every 4 or 5, 6 years or so, they'll like nip up and grab us. The last 10 years, maybe, they started to kind of advance further in the FCS than we have. So we've been building for about 15 or 16 years in FCS, and we're finally starting to get to the point where we're beating our rivals. So we started off the season. Oh crap, how did I just do that? I went way too far. Started off the season playing Cal and lost, of course. Texas A&M Commerce beat them by a couple touchdowns. Southern Utah, we've traditionally had some problems with. We went out there and beat them. We beat Utah Tech. We've traditionally had problems with Idaho. We beat Idaho. We beat Portland State. We beat Cal Poly, who we've been beating up on for 50 years. And then the big one was Eastern Washington. So we were 0-11 all time against Eastern Washington. And every time it has felt over the last 10, 15 years, like every time our team gets off to a good start and we're like 5-0 or 6-0 or whatever, we play Eastern Washington and somehow they win. Even last year, they were a terrible team and they still wound up coming down here and beating us. But we got that monkey off our back. Then we waxed Northern Colorado by 52 points. And then Montana, we go to Montana and we played the Grizz. Now the Grizz had a loss. I thought that you guys had already beat them.
Nope, that was not us. That was Weber State.
Okay, so they came in as the 7th team in the country. We were number 4. You guys were number 2, and the 1 and the 3, all 4 of the top teams won. So the rankings didn't change. Real quick, my partner over on Player Profiler News Dynasty Stock Market Show, Dynasty Football Key, is checking in. He's also the host of the Cowboys Show right here on Uncovered. You don't get this content anywhere else. Exactly. Especially shout outs to Texas A&M Commerce.
Whoa, there you go. I was just going to say, I have a long time rivalry. Hey, my aunt went to Eastern Washington. So we always have like a bet every year of who wins has to make the other person cookies. And
I thought you were going to say cook the meth, but
no. I mean, that is Montana, but that's besides the point.
No, it's also Eastern Washington. Sorry,
but we've had that bet for a long time, and we let's just say that she's been the one baking quite a bit recently.
Nice.
I was going to ask you because like now that you got the monkey off your back, congrats on beating Eastern Washington. It's always a good feeling when you beat them. I hate that field. I hate everything about
the red field is so gross.
It's so terrible. If anybody hasn't seen it, just imagine Boise State, but it's a red field, so it's even worse on your retinas when you're watching it. It's not fun for anybody. So I was going to ask you, do you have any Cooper Kupp in any leagues?
Yes.
Oh, I just recently got over my hate for him just to start getting back. I had a huge grudge about it. I was like, I purposely didn't want Cooper Kupp just because of how much he destroyed us every year.
Yeah. Cooper Kupp went to Eastern Washington. I do have some Cooper Kupp shares, although as a Cal fan, I don't roster Stanford players usually.
Oh, interesting. Rule. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. For the Grizz, it's not like there's not many players that go into the NFL either. There are, but like, like Eastern, like seeing Cooper Kupp get so well and do so well. It's I'm super happy for him. Obviously, if I ever met him in person, I'd probably shrivel up and be like, "You're such a cool dude." But like for a long time, I refused to draft him.
I do make an exception for CMC. But like other
that's fair.
Other guys,
that's an okay one.
Other guys can fuck off. All right. So
at least I'm not the only one. I was like, we're such a small school. So I was like, I'll still get my edge in on these guys that don't know I exist, but still screw up.
Same. If anybody from Sacramento State was like a fantasy rosterable guy, I'd just be like, go away.
Can't do that.
So Montana comes to town last week. And the 4 schools that we have a problem with typically, obviously, we're 1-7 all time against the Bobcats, dropping the last 7. We tend to always lose against Montana. We have trouble with Southern Utah. We have trouble five schools. We have trouble with Eastern Washington. And we have trouble with. Did I say Idaho?
You did earlier. When
Yeah, anyway, we have trouble with all those schools. We've gotten all of those monkeys off our back, and then Montana comes to town. We're ranked number 4. They're ranked number 7. I'm at work. It's a PM game in Montana.
Yep.
I check the score on ESPN, and it's 7-0 Montana, and I'm like, here we go again. We finally have a good team, and we go to one of those like trap schools, and we lose again. And I checked about 10, 15 minutes later, and it's 7-7. And I was like, okay, way to not lay down, Davis, because typically what would have happened is they'd give up a touchdown and then just kind of it would snowball from there. But we tied the game. Then we go up 10-7. Then they tie it at 10-10. We go up 13-10. And I'm like, here we go. This is good. So at work, I put the game on my phone because it was on ESPN2. An FCS game in the regular season that wasn't a playoff game was on ESPN in prime time on the West Coast. Crazy. So I start watching. And from that point on, our defense just completely shut Montana down and our offense took off. Now, there's a couple things. Number one, you talk about how there are 2 quarterbacks at Montana State, and there's one who's a runner and one who they bring in for throwing. Montana did the same thing.
Yep.
Once they got down, they were like, oh crap, we need to bring in our arm and get out of this run game. I'm wondering if Montana State does try and pass a little bit earlier. But your quarterback, and we'll talk about him, Tommy Mellott, as the first game I saw him play was against Davis. I think he was a freshman, and I was immediately impressed. The dude is a runner. And I was like, this is an NFL running quarterback profile. I don't know how big he is, but anyway, Montana tried to do that. They tried to run. They couldn't. They could not run against Davis. And we wound up getting too big of a lead. They tried to throw the ball to get back into it. And we eventually won. It was a pretty big win and very, very satisfying because it was the Montana Grizz. And they've been pretty much the class of the division for a few years. I want to say Montana State was in the FCS playoffs within the last couple of years.
Yep. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. We've been in the playoffs the last couple of years. We were in the championship a couple of years ago, his sophomore year in 2022. And that's in the championship game against, it's North Dakota State, because it was Christian Watson was in it.
Yeah, maybe he was a sophomore when I saw him, because it was in 2022.
So he twisted his ankle like after the first or couple drives, which when you have a running quarterback isn't great. So he was out. And at the time we had another quarterback that stepped in, but our offense wasn't the same, and we lost pretty badly against them. That always stuck out to me. I was like, it was one of those like games like what if Tommy didn't get hurt? Like that would have been maybe a whole different story. But
that was the year that he kicked the shit out of us, and I was like, yeah, he's good.
So the homegrown boy from Butte, Montana, Tommy. He is fourth year, his senior year. He is matured as a passer, but he's a very good rusher. You talk about his build. He's about 6 foot, 210. So probably closer to, I want to say Russell Wilson, like his rookie year. Like, I don't think Russell Wilson was so much bigger physically, but same kind of player. But Tommy's definitely matured. He's by far his best passing. He's got 19 touchdowns and 1 interception in the air this year, which is like huge upgrade, because his highest previous was 10 passing touchdowns in a season. So he's almost doubled it, and we still got 2 games left. So it's great to see him mature as a passer. But yeah, he's always been a really good runner.
So he'll probably take another year or two and season himself, and then enter the NFL draft.
Probably. I think he'll it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. He's definitely not rushed as much. His rushing carries are way down. Because the year that like you're talking about, I mean, he had like a Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen's like year. Like he had 167 rushes. Like that's quarterback doesn't get to that number.
Yeah.
Like those are running back numbers. And so it was just like this year he's been more selective, but he's had much bigger gains. Like he's averaging 10 yards a carry, which so he's
and you're
like,
10-0.
We're 10-0. So he's winning.
Going right.
Exactly. So like you said, like he's definitely, I think he's matured, and I think he's like shown that he can be a true dual threat, which has been maybe part of where the success is coming from, because now he actually can threaten some with his arm, not just his legs.
It's gonna be a good game. All right, so tell me about some of the Montana State players on both sides of the ball that we should be watching out for, or at least that the Aggies should be worried about.
Certainly, like I said, like our ground game is going to be the makes or breaks us. We are our leading running back right this year is Scotchery Humphrey. What number he is? 22. So he is just a phenomenal runner. Definitely gets tough yards, but he's just our lead back. But we got some change-up guys with like Adam Jones, and then Tommy Mellott with his own legs. But we also got our big playmaker, in my opinion, Ty McCulloch. That's right. So he's a wide receiver. I say big play because that's what we do. Like last week, against Sacramento State, he touched the ball twice, one for a 32-yard gain in the air and then a 67 end around touchdown. So, like, he touched the ball twice and both were long scores like that. So we have these like athletic playmakers, but on the defensive ball side, like that's like again like what we've been, what's been our strong suit is keeping opponents less than 20 points more often than not. So that's been. I don't really have anybody super to name. You're going to hear a lot of the a lot of the linebackers again because those are kind of what I would say we're a mini farm for linebackers, especially in recent years. But our leading one is McCade O'Reilly. So you're probably going to hear his name a lot, especially when you get to your guys' names. There's a reason because there's one person that we're worried about on your side, and for a very good reason. I bet he's the best running back in our division and most of the FCS.
There should be other guys you're worried about.
There is, but like I'll if I'm the coach for the Bobcats, and obviously I'm not, but if I am, I'm like we're stopping, number one. Like you've tweeted about him every week, and here the stats you've been listing are just ridiculous because I know the opponents you're playing, and I'm just like he should not be getting to these numbers. Like I've watched FCS long enough, like he's special. Like I can't wait for you to talk to him, but the one player that if we're going to talk about it, because we're not just FCS, we're not just fantasy, we're obsessed with NFL prospects too. Mm-hmm. And the one name we have an offensive lineman called Marcus Ware. He is a freak, number 76. You're going to watch him. He's a mauler. If you like watching tape between the tackles, like in the trenches, like he's someone that's going to be a name to not just watch, but I bet he gets a chance to play for a team. I bet he gets
what year is he?
He's 20. He's a senior. And he
Dear Brett Coleman, go to the Senior Bowl and watch this kid.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so he maybe because he's 4 years. Yeah, he went to Billings here. Like I watched him in high school. He's just super good. It was 6'3", 300 pounds, moves like he's a running back. He's stupid strong. Just like he actually is like built to play in the NFL. Like it's just we just got lucky that he's a homegrown boy and just wanted to play for the Bobcats. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I bet he could have had offers somewhere else.
D1.
But just like he's got 1,200. Yeah, just looking at the stats for his reports, he's got 1,200 snaps, 0 sacks allowed.
Jesus.
So he's just
okay.
So he's like I said, like he's a mauler, he's a mover. The dude's very good. There's a couple sites for FCS scouting have like brought his name up to watch on the radar for NFL's prospects. Obviously not like a fantasy name, but like if I see him drafted to a team, I'll start for them. Like I know, like I'll be a huge fan of them just because he's a freak.
We had a staff meeting with Player Profiler last week, and one of the things that Matt said to all of us was, Player Profiler, we have credentials. So if you want to go to the Shrine Game, if you want to go to the Senior Bowl, so I've been talking to my editor at Player Profiler, and I put a bug in his ear early. I want to do the Combine, the Draft, the Senior Bowl, and the Shrine Game, and I want to hobnob with Brett Coleman. I want to rub elbows with Chris Froton, and like I want to be there, and I want to report both for Player Profiler and for the Undroppables, and be like live at those places and live stream, and so hopefully I'll be able to see that guy somewhere.
That's cool.
All right, for the UC Davis Aggies, I have a slide.
I'll come more prepared next time. I didn't know.
No worries.
You're gonna go all this out. My bad.
All right, Lan Larison, running back, 6 feet tall, 215 pounds. If that's not an ideal NFL prospect size for a rookie coming out, I don't know what is. He's a second year senior, fifth year senior, out of Caldwell, Idaho. And it's kind of blurry, but if you look, you can see his receiving stats. He has 46 catches this year for almost 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. Absolutely ridiculous for a running back to be that involved in the passing game. And rushing, he has 209 carries for 1,061 yards now and 10 total touchdowns. He even has some pass attempts. He threw a pick, but it wasn't his fault. But yeah, they let him go with the ball. They get the ball in his hands. They know this is the playmaker. This is the guy that that we're gonna ride or die with, and he should be. He reminds me a lot of Dylan Laube from last year, although he's not as small as Laube, and he's bigger than Austin Eckler. So if you're looking for a multi-dimensional 3-tool running back, speed, carry, and catch from the FCS in the mold of Dylan Laube's hype at the beginning of this season or after the combine, Austin Eckler and his career, that kind of thing. There was a kid that played for the Jackrabbits, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, who's in the NFL that
just got drafted.
What's that?
The one that just got drafted?
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
I don't know about a couple of years. I know. Was it Isaiah Davis?
Yeah. Very similar profile. Now we're on YouTube, and I don't know how many of you know who Tom Cardy is, but if you look up Tom Cardy, Cardy real quick, he's down in Australia, and he makes like funny little music videos. And every time I look at this picture of Lan Larison, I get the Tom Cardy vibe. It's uncanny. Anyway, I hope I don't get in trouble. I'm trying to get him on the show. And I hope he doesn't hate me if he sees this. Anyway, all right. Our quarterback is Miles Hastings. He's 6'1", 205. So he's just at that Drew Brees level. He's a senior as well from San Marcos. And this year he has a 69% passing rate, completion percentage for 3,000 yards, about 300 yards a game, and 26 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. So he's definitely, absolutely been non-turnover. He's protecting the ball. He's not making terrible throws or anything. He's moving the ball down the field. One of the better quarterbacks that we've had in a while. And I don't know about his size, but he definitely could wind up on a practice squad in the next couple of years as well.
69% ain't nothing to joke about. That's crazy.
No, and he's got a little bit of mobility too. They don't design run plays for him just because they have land.
Yeah.
But he can scoot. And then on defense, we've got David Meyer, who leads the team with 88 tackles. He's got 3 interceptions, 6.5 tackles for loss. He's a linebacker out of Mission Viejo down in Southern California. He's pretty darn good. And then Rex Connors is another junior. He's a safety out of Pleasant Grove, Utah. He's got 65 tackles and 2 interceptions. Those are the guys on defense to watch out for. There are a couple other guys on the defensive line that are pretty good. But these are the major playmakers that take care of business for the Aggies. Now, I do want to talk about this defense because I was talking to my dad. My dad started taking me to Aggie games when I was very, very young. And we were having a conversation about this Aggie team. And after watching that Montana game, I said, this is the best Aggie defense that I've seen in 40 plus years. And he said, absolutely. And that was the kicker. That was the big thing that I took away from that Montana game was this is not like other years. We've kind of had that we'll score 40, but we'll allow 41 team for decades. And this year it's different. We are absolutely waxing people and shutting people down on defense. And we've done it to all of our unnatural rivals. We haven't played our natural rival yet, but we've done it to all those bugaboos that we've had. And if there's anything that I think, like, obviously, our result with Idaho was a little bit closer than your guys. So you guys absolutely have the ability to make our defense look stupid. And that's what I'm scared of, because when I start going, oh, this defense is great because it was Montana, then
Right.
that's when we get bit.
No, I can't wait. Night game. It's going to be, two good defenses, two good offenses. We're both fighting for, top seed. So it's, I don't know. College football doesn't get any better than that, right? Like,
Right.
When it matters the most like this, and it's your alma mater, and it's like you just care, and it's just so exciting to see. And I'm excited to see us on the road. Night game. I think it's 6:00 your guys' our time.
5 o'clock.
Your time, yeah, 6:00.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, like I'm gonna be barbecuing. I'm gonna be watching with my family. I just can't wait to watch the game, man. It's gonna be great. Win or loss. I mean, these are two very good teams that they're finally coming together and meeting. Like that's what you want at the end of the season.
Fuck Idaho, fuck Montana, fuck Sac State, fuck Eastern Washington. It's
exactly.
time for the Bobcats and the Aggies.
I was just gonna say, time for us, both of us, to put up or shut up. Like this is it. Like us playing Montana next week, or the following week is different. And then for you guys, Sacramento State, that's a whole different level of hate. That's a whole different level of stakes that you just we have. But like right now, like this is for the playoffs. Like this is seeding. This is exactly what we're what we've worked on for you. Both of our programs have kind of built up to this. You guys have had like an incredible year. Seeing you guys go 9-1, like it just is such a crazy thing to say. It's just like I love seeing programs get turned around like that. Like obviously, like I say that because Montana State was really bad for me growing up, and especially when I was going to school. And now it's like, in my opinion, like the top program in Big Sky. Like we've become the team to kind of beat, and so it's been fun to see that kind of transformation.
One thing that is kind of a pipe dream, it's not going to happen, but I would love to see it. When I went to school in Arkansas, I went to a D2 school, Arkansas Tech, and our big rival was University of Central Arkansas, which is where Scottie Pippen went to school.
Okay.
And they have made the transition to FCS as well. Meanwhile, my Arkansas Tech Wonder Boys haven't. But Central Arkansas is good enough that they've been in the top 20 rankings in FCS the whole year. So I want them to make the playoffs and face UC Davis in the D2 in the FCS championship. All right, give me a prediction for the game. How do you see it playing out, and what's going to happen?
Well, I don't think we score as much as we have been. That's the one thing. I think seeing your defense, seeing the scores and what you did to Eastern Washington, what you did to Montana recently, it's like I think we keep it low. I think it's going to come down to, unfortunately, probably like last person to have the ball. One of those kind of games, and like I think we win, but I mean it. I envision like 27-24 last second field goal, and the 27 could easily be the UC Davis side. Like and it would not shock me one bit. Like it would. I think it's just going to be one of those like really tough. Every yard, every penalty, every snap is just going to matter. Like whether you don't think it does, but like I think every time somebody touches the ball and fumbles it or whatever, it's going to have a ripple effect in this game. I don't think we're taking it lightly. I don't think why would we? But like I think for your guys being home, being in the position that you are, like I can see the emotions and just like you coming out and just steamrolling us. Like it could actually happen. Like I'm nervous and excited. Like I truly in my hearts I think we win. But that's my prediction. Close game, 27-24.
We're going to have 10,000 rabid fans, and then after the game, they're going to come to the liquor store where I work and buy booze.
Either way, we'll be there.
I give the nod to Montana State. I think they're going to win. I think the only rays of hope that we have are the way that the defense has been playing. Lan Larison is a wild card just because of his explosiveness. If he can like break one, especially at a crucial point in the game where it's just like a morale breaker,
Yeah.
I think, and the fact that we're at home, I think those 3 things, if we win, I think those will be the factors. It's going to be 61 degrees here, so I hope you all get down here and go, oh my God, it's so hot and humid, we can't even breathe.
That's the other side of that, the temperature home advantage.
But you didn't get us early. Our games in September are like into the hundreds of degrees. So
that's true.
I think we need to start scheduling all of the Idahos and Montana games. We need to start making you guys our September games.
I like it.
But yeah, I think the Bobcats win by 7-10. It's just like that has traditionally been the history of the Aggies, is when it's a crucial game, it just doesn't go our way, and it's not close. It's fairly comfortable for the other team. But I will be watching. I have YouTube TV on my phone. It's broadcast locally on the CW channel, and if check your local listings. It's not on ESPN this week, but it will be on ESPN Plus if you have that. All Aggie games are, and I'm pretty sure all Montana State games are too. So it might not be on broadcast TV anywhere else like it is here, but I'll be watching at work, and I don't care what my boss says. I'll scream if I have to, and I probably won't watch it. I'll probably like check the score a couple times.
I was just gonna say, yeah, box score, watch it.
And if we take a lead, then I'll
lead, or the score doesn't fluctuate too much. It's close. You're like, and then I'll turn it on. Yeah, I'll be watching from the beginning, and then I'll be a sourpuss, and things go sour, I'll turn it off. But like, it'll be fun to watch either way. I'll still watch the whole thing, because I do want to watch Lan play. Like, I haven't seen him play personally, so I want to see what, like, I mean, like, he just showed like 1,500 ball scrimmage yards and 46 receptions
and he's actually he's been focused on to the point where his yards per carry has dropped by a yard from last year. Last year he was even hurt last year, and his season was absolutely off the chain. So next year is when he's going to be a year removed from the injury. So he's not even like running, like he's still less than a year post injury.
For like 95%. We'll get to that last one.
Right. And he's still like, he's going to beat his rushing total from, I mean, granted it's more games, but he's going to beat his total yards from last year. Thank you, Derek, for hopping on with me.
Of course. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. I mean, this is literally the biggest game that we've had since the Palm Bowl in 1982. The D2 national championship. We have not had a game this significant in the last 42 years at this school.
That's incredible.
And this is awesome. And
we just so happen to be at the Andropolis. We just so happen to know each other, and it just was like, I was like commenting every time you posted UC Davis. I was like marking the calendar. I was like, dude, November.
Damn it.
It's coming.
Damn
it's
it.
Coming, bud. And then we kept both winning. We both kept winning. I was like, this game got bigger. And then when you were like, I DM'd you and you were just like, dude, let's do a show. I was like, yeah. I'm all for it.
We do head-to-heads on the NFL Uncovered all the time. So this is, we got guys that I told Raider Damas on the Raiders show last night, because he lives in Montana. He's between, he's on the road between MSU and Montana. His wife is a Bobcats fan. He said that he mentioned that it's like there's a split in the state of Bobcats fans and Grizz fans, and it's pretty nasty. But I made a comment about nobody cares about this game except for everybody in Montana and me.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Go ahead and make sure you like and share and follow Undroppables. Follow Player Profiler, Player Profiler News, Fantasy Football Plus, Fantasy Football Advice Network. All of those things. Find us on Twitter. I'm at Big Boned FFB. Derek.
Yeah, at FF _ Derek Fuchs.
And also Blue Sky. Everybody, we want everybody on Fantasy Sports Advice Network, but Blue Sky is starting to take over a little bit.
No kidding. I know. I need to make my account here soon.
Yeah, and
Before I get left behind.
so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks,
everybody.
Derek. Buttons.